Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
We can't believe it's been over 20 years since we met you on the big screen, Neo. The Matrix was a mind-blowing movie, and it's become a cultural icon. Watching you figure out the secrets of the Matrix and fighting back has left an impact on several generations. It's also amazing just how much work went into these films. It would take a million rewatches to find all the details and Easter eggs. You don't have to decide between a red pill and a blue pill to find out the details you missed in the Matrix trilogy. Did you know there's a tiny detail that confirms Neo's fate? Keep watching for 15 things you missed in the Matrix movies, but be warned, this video contains some major spoilers.
You will know which door are in you.
We know that production companies like Marvel and Disney throw in a lot of Easter eggs, but The Matrix is one of the first blockbuster movies to have a ton of Easter eggs too. One of these is in the room where Neo lives in the first film. He lives in room 101 in The Matrix.
$2,000. Hold up.
This is a direct reference to a piece of literature about another corrupt political system. George Orwell's 1984 is about a man who begins to question his dystopian government. The protagonist is put in room 101, which is the room where people are subjected to their worst nightmares. It's the perfect room number for Neo.
You ever have that feeling where you're not sure if you're awake or still dreaming?
All the time.
The Matrix movies features a lot of CGI, but there are also plenty of scenes that were filmed the old-fashioned way. One of those scenes is in the first movie where we see the woman in the red dress.
Were you listening to me, Neo? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress?
Neo is learning how the Matrix works, and there are doppelgangers everywhere. These doppelgangers were of every single extra in the scene, but they were not added with CGI. Instead, they hired a bunch of identical twins. That is some very specific casting. Look closely next time to see if you can find all the twins.
Every single man or woman who has stood their ground, everyone who has fought an agent has died.
One of the most epic scenes from all three movies has been called the Bruised Brawl. In The Matrix Reloaded, Neo has to fight multiple copies of Agent Smith. All the Smiths keep coming for him, and there seems to be an unlimited amount. He narrowly gets away. You might think that this scene required a ton of digital effects, but actually, they hired a bunch of stunt doubles and extras that looked like Hugo Weaving, who plays Smith.
Somehow he's found a way to copy himself.
Almost all of the fighting is real. All the CGI team did was alter the faces of each of the extra Smiths. This scene was brutal to film. It cost a fortune and took 27 days.
If I were you, I would hope that we don't meet again.
In the Matrix trilogy, most of Earth has been destroyed, but there are two locations on planet Earth, Zion and Machine City. Neo finally makes it to the Earth's surface in the final movie. Because it's set in a post-apocalyptic future, it's hard to tell exactly where these places are supposed to be.
Can you see it? 3 lines.
Power lines.
In the Animatrix, it's revealed that Machine City's real name is 01, and it's located in a future Saudi Arabia. It's also likely, based on distances, that Zion is also in the Middle East. There's some symbolism there too. The earliest human civilizations were in the Middle East. In the Matrix movies, the last of human civilization is there too.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
Hardcore comic book fans might have noticed that The Matrix felt a little familiar. The movies were inspired by a lesser-known comic book series called The Invisibles. It was part of DC Comics, and they were written by Grant Morrison. The comics are about interdimensional aliens who have enslaved the human race without them knowing. A few ragtag heroes figure it out. The protagonist is a chosen one, much like Neo. He even has a mentor that resembles Morpheus quite a bit. It's interesting that Grant Morrison's work inspired such major movies, but we wish that The Invisibles got a little more recognition.
You moved like they do. I've never seen anyone move that fast.
The Matrix starts with Neo beginning to question the world around him. He questions everything, and for good reason. He's a hacker who starts to figure out that the world doesn't make sense. But have you ever wondered just how many questions he asks? Well, the internet has figured it out.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Neo takes the red pill and frees his mind about 45 minutes into the first movie. In those 45 minutes, Neo has 80 lines, and 44 of them are questions. That's right, over half of Neo's lines at the beginning of the movie are questions. Do you ever wonder what really happened to Neo? Keep watching to find out.
I thought it wasn't real.
Your mind makes it real.
In the war between humans and machines, the machines begin harnessing the human race's bioelectric power. They win the war, and they use most humans as a source of energy.
In order to change a human being into this.
They keep them alive in giant vats of liquid. Their brains hook into a simulated reality, which keeps their bioelectric feeds working. Basically, the machines have turned humans into giant batteries. When Neo first meets Trinity's crew, Switch calls him
Copper top.
This random insult went over most people's heads, but she was referencing a battery with a copper top. She was basically calling Neo nothing more than a battery.
I don't believe it. It's not possible.
It's always a risk to cast characters for a movie franchise. Sometimes actors, especially older actors, will pass away before the final movies. If it's a major character, the director will often choose to recast with a new actor. The Oracle was played by Gloria Foster in the first two films. Her performance was amazing.
Seems like every time we meet, I got nothing but bad news.
Sadly, she passed away before the third movie. She had managed to film all her scenes before she passed, but she never got to see The Matrix Reloaded. In The Matrix Revolutions, the Oracle was recast and played by Mary Alice. Mary did such a great job at taking on this role that it's easy to overlook the change.
Well now, ain't this a surprise?
This next detail is really easy to overlook. It's one of the most subtle Easter eggs we've ever seen. The interrogation scene between Agent Smith and Neo has several Easter eggs. For example, the monitors are the same ones in the architect's room, but one Easter egg has to do with Neo's mom. Smith reads from a file about Thomas Anderson's life.
In one life, you're Thomas A. Anderson, program writer.
Remember, that's the name that Neo was given in The Matrix. If you look carefully at the papers, you'll see that it mentions Thomas's mother's name. Her name, according to The Matrix's files, is Michelle McGahee. The real McGahee was the film's artistic director. It was a great nod to her ingenious work on the films.
I know it. He's the one.
In the 1960s, there was a TV show called The Prisoner. A former secret agent is kidnapped and placed in a mysterious village, and he has to try to uncover the truth. Sound familiar? The Matrix trilogy has several nods to The Prisoner. In one scene in the first movie, he runs past a TV screen. The TV is showing an episode of The Prisoner. Neo is an anagram for 1. He was named after a number, just like the character from the classic show. He was just called number 6. When Neo meets the architect, he learns that he is the 6th iteration of the One.
Which case this is the 6th version.
5 lines before me.
That is another nod to number 6 from The Prisoner.
Where no one knows.
You have to have a musical ear to pick up on this next detail. Technically, the opening themes are the same song, but each movie opens with the score played in a different key. The first movie score is played in the key of E, and each movie score goes up by 1 semitone. It symbolizes the rising intensity of the conflict between the machines and the humans.
I want that goddamn machine taken down.
This is some genius composing by Don Davis. He also adjusted the music in different scenes based on whether humans or machines were the main focus. We bet most people didn't pick up on all of these musical details.
We're trying, sir. There's no response.
The Matrix trilogy is filled with a ton of Bible references. For instance, the Nebuchadnezzar ship is named after a king from the Old Testament, but there are 2 very subtle references to specific Bible verses. In The Matrix Reloaded, Agent Smith's license plate reads IS 5416. This references Isaiah 54:16, which is about a destroyer who was created to wreak havoc. Yeah, that sounds like Smith. The Keymaker talks about needing to knock out 27 blocks of power.
Not 1, 27.
27 blocks?
This will give Neo 314 seconds to do what he needs to do. This references the 27th book of the New Testament, verse 314. The verse talks about witnessing the power of creation. For the movies, that means the architect.
The machine mainframe.
Other than biblical references, the films contain many mythological elements. There is a Zion ship called the Hammer, and is really called Mjolnir, which is Thor's hammer. The final battle between Smith and Neo is called Neo-Damerung. It's a reference to a German word for Ragnarok. In Norse mythology, this final battle destroys the gods but saves humanity. The gods know they won't survive, just like Neo knows that he has to be assimilated by Smith. There are also Greek mythology elements. The story itself is similar to the myth of Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods. Morpheus was the god of sleep and dreams. In the movie, Morpheus has the exact opposite role. He wakes people up.
Is it really so hard to believe?
In The Matrix Revolutions, Neo wakes up in a train station called Mobile Ave. This is a link between the Matrix and Machine City. He is stuck in between these two places. Mobile is a significant name. It's an anagram for Limbo. In Catholic beliefs, Limbo is a waiting place between heaven and earth. If you take it one step further, it has even more meaning. Keanu Reeves is dyslexic, which often causes people to rearrange letters.
So they don't, okay, so there's a couple of fights.
If Neo is also dyslexic, he might have misread the sign. It could have said Limbo the whole time, which might have clued him in.
I don't even know where here is.
Neo sacrifices himself to save humanity. He allows Smith to assimilate him, but his fate wasn't exactly clear. Sati asks the Oracle of,
will we ever see him again?
The Oracle says that she doesn't know.
I suspect so. Someday.
But she believes they will. However, there's another clue in the scene. The bench that the Oracle sits on says, in memory of Thomas Anderson. That was Neo's human name given inside the Matrix. Most fans who have noticed this think that this is a way for the directors to say that Neo really did pass on, as in he's not coming back. But other fans are convinced that the ending is not as straightforward as it seems to be. What do you think Neo's true fate was? Let us know in the comment section.